Hello, I'm Moonrain and welcome to my channel. October always feels like a month of transition. There's going to be shorter days, cooler air, and a chance to reflect on what's shifting in our lives. So for this pick a card reading today, I'm using what I call the trick or treat spread I made. It's a way to look at both sides of the month. Think of it like a little Halloween costume where we're going to check out the mask you're wearing, the challenges in your path, the strengths you carry, and whether October holds more tricks or treats for you. So take a moment to choose the pile that feels right for you, and let's see where this month has to reveal. So for the very first pile, we have the Curious Travels. The second pile is the Memento Mori, Lenormand, and Oracle deck. And then the third pile is a mix of both the Cosmic Crossroads as well as the Cosmic Seed Tarot. I mixed both of them together. It's not all of the cards, it's just a few that I preferred out of the deck. All right, so I'm going to let you just think about it for a second. Take a deep breath and blow out. And we'll start shortly. Okay, so we're going to start with pile one. We're going to have 5 different positions where we're going to talk about the mask, which is what we're displaying out to the world, but not necessarily being honest with ourselves. The shadow is basically showing us our fears or obstacles that might come along this way for this month. The torch, which, or I could call that flashlight, will be your strength, your courage, or your guiding light for this month. The trick is what could mislead or distract you, and the treat is the blessing, a sweet surprise, or a strength that you will have this month. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So let's start. So this will be your mask, this will be your shadow, this will be your guiding light, your trick, and your treat. There we go. All right, so let's start. So here we have the Queen of Pentacles. Notice how her feet are on the ground. This shows to me a person who's very grounded. Notice the what look like maybe apples or yeah, it looks like apples or pomegranates around her. So that would be what she's displaying, a sense of abundance, as well as the pentacle here. And here we have the branches kind of like making that little throne to me like self-contained, right? She's able to do everything herself. She's self-sufficient, resourceful, and very grounded and practical. But this is the mask we're wearing. So this is showing to me that you're portraying this particular types of qualities, right? That I can do this all by myself. I have everything I need. I'm very resourceful, but things are not necessarily the way that we're projecting to others. Now, the shadow, the fear, the obstacles that we might be experiencing. Here we're seeing a little child with a broken pentacle. So here we're showing like when something goes wrong, we don't necessarily see that there's outstretched hands there to help us, right? There's other people there giving help or support or offering support and help, but we're not necessarily looking at this. So maybe we're not acknowledging because we just assume that others are not there to help, or perhaps we just don't trust the people that are out there to help us. So this is more of a perspective issue, a mental issue, as opposed to an actual physical problem, right? Even though you do have a physical problem, I mean in regards to the support. Now here's the guiding light. We have 7 of Wands. 7 of Wands is about standing up to your viewpoint, right? And here we have the wand that he's holding, the orangutan, not necessarily in a very defensive position. Like if you were to look at the original Rider-Waite, the person actually is standing up and it looks like they're ready to defend their position. Here, on the other hand, we have an orangutan that's sitting down. He's scratching his head. He doesn't necessarily look very defensive, and actually he looks quite inquisitive, like, or maybe just kind of like questioning things, like, are all of the people surrounding me, are they truly attacking me? Is this something in my mind, right? Like, so this is more of questioning what's really going on here. So the card suggests kind of like your gift isn't really necessarily like defense, but more of a reflection, and maybe doubting what you initially thought of the lack of support, that people are out there against you, right? The strength is to stop and ask, am I being really unsupported when I need help? Am I telling myself the correct story here, or this narrative that I have in my mind. So let's move on to the trick. Here we have the Four of Wands. So here we're supposed to have an image of maybe celebration here with the two bees. To me, it looks more of like belonging and acceptance here. So the trick is waiting for external recognition, or maybe like validation in regards to your immediate surrounding or community, as a proof of maybe worth. So this is like something that you're going to be dealing with this month, maybe like that sense of needing to belong, needing to chase for approval instead of turning into the maybe unseen hands of help here that's always been there. And strength is your last card. This is your treat. So this is about quiet self-mastery and courage, but the courage is not necessarily to stay strong and be quiet while you're going through all of this. As you can see, the fear of you of not accepting help is where your strength will lie, right? In asking for help, asking for people who are help or wanting to help you, to accept that. And so here we're kind of seeing like you having to kind of like change that narrative that you're experiencing of maybe you feel like others are not necessarily there to help you. Maybe you feel like others have opposing viewpoints, but it might not just be that way. It's just a different viewpoint. And perhaps this is something that you'll have to deal with this month. So kind of like a synthesis here, we have the Queen showing that sense of control and self-containment, being resourceful and practical, but this is just a mask you're wearing, that shadow, that fear of abandonment, not being able to be helped, but in reality there is help, that want people there to help you. Then we have the orangutan here, questioning whether is this fear really real, or is this just a narrative, internal dialogue that I'm telling myself. And then the trick is believing that belonging only counts if you do this all by yourself, that you're self-sufficient, that if you're able to do this, people will actually accept you. So like an external sense of validation. But the truth strength lies in courage, into maybe letting your guard down and letting people help you out, and realizing that maybe when people have different viewpoints, it's not necessarily against you, it's just a different perspective, and accepting help without any shame. I hope this helped you guys out. I'm going to move on to the very next pile. Thank you so much for watching. Alright, let's start with the second pile. If you chose the Memento Mori, the Norman Oracle deck, this particular message is for you. Just like I said to the first pile, we are going to touch on the mask, shadow, torch, trick, and treat, where the mask is what you are projecting out to the world, whether it is true or not. And then shadow will be your hidden fears or obstacles. The torch will be what's guiding you this month. Trick will be any things that could mislead or distract you this month. And last but not least, the trick or the blessing or sweet surprise. Couple of shuffles here, sorry. All right, okay. Okay, so let's start with the mask, the shadow, sorry, this is backwards, right, and the flashlight or guiding light, trick or treat, and the treat. So here we have Memento Mori. Again, this is knowing that we will die. But before I get into the message of the actual card, I'm also going to talk about a little bit in regards to the flowers here. Right away, I can tell you this and this is more associated together, as I can see like the white flowers with the yellow, and here we have white and black and white and black. So I'm going to try to see the correlation with these two, along with the letter having just black. So we'll go into all of that in just a little bit. So again, with Memento Mori, we have that sense of knowing of things of impermanence, maybe transitions or changes. So here with the white yellow flowers, we're seeing maybe vitality, openness, the fact that these flowers are a little bit wider in petal compared to the others, more akin to these right here, may show us a sense of like confidence, braveness. The ferns I know mean protection, also sincerity. I don't think these are eucalyptus. They kind of look like it. I'm not sure. Can't think of there's a particular plant that I'm thinking of, but I can't remember the name of. I know these aren't ivy because I think ivy kind of have like a sharp edge to them. But here we're seeing the Aquarian kind of presents itself as very calm, very resilient, even protected, like more protecting themselves, appearing to accept change, with just like serenity, with calmness, right? But this is a mask. So it's more about like externally showing strength, but inside not necessarily feeling that way. So something must have changed, some sort of transition, something occurred that you're putting an outward facade of that everything's fine. I know like things happen this way, but inside or internally, you're not necessarily feeling that way. You're kind of feeling a little like things are just not the way they should be. You're not in your, you're not in good footing is what basically I'm getting. So here we have the shadow. So we have book and Lenormand. This is something that is unknown, hidden knowledge, especially when the book is drawn closed as opposed to open here. And here we have the white flowers that could indicate like maybe clarity, but we also have black flowers, which could also indicate more secrecy, right? Like things in the shadows. So to me, it shows that this will provide a clarity, but because it's closed, it's also showing that we're not necessarily having all of everything out to the open. So the obstacle here, right, because this is your fears, your obstacles, is the unknown. So you maybe there are unanswered questions in regards to what happened to you, that transition here, or secret that causes maybe unease or unrest for you. There's a discomfort here, not knowing the full story of why things have changed. So let's say if this was in regards to maybe a relationship, maybe whether this person or you broke up and you don't necessarily know why that person broke up with you, right? This is what it's indicating here. Like you don't have a full story. They just kind of broke up with you and that was it. Like there's no other indication or any backstory regarding that, right? Here we have your guiding light, which is the broom. Broom here comes from cleansing, clearing out, removing things. This is a very repetitive motion. So this could talk about repetitive cycles, but it also refers to the fact that you're releasing bad juju, energy, clutter, sweeping away any thought patterns perhaps that you're experiencing here. The white here gives me a sense of like maybe focused energy, purity. The fact that these yellow is a little different from here, it's smaller, tighter, it shows me a sense of like maybe practicality, a sense of focus, as opposed to a wider center in the flower here, which shows me not necessarily that sense of focus. I'm just kind of like relating that to like maybe the pupils of an eyeball, right? Like that sense of focus here. So here we're seeing that your strength lies in the fact that you are able to like remove all of that obsessive thoughts, cycles, clutter, that bad energy, just being able to sweep that all away, despite not having all the answers. Now let's move on to the trick. So here we have the puppet. So this shows me you're feeling a sense of powerlessness, feeling like other people are possibly pulling the strings, are manipulating you. You don't feel like you have a say in regards to all of this. Just feeling controlled when you're not necessarily in control. So that's a trick. This is misleading. This is distracting you from the overall purpose here. So you might feel that way. You might feel like you're being manipulated and other people are pulling the strings, but that's not the case here. Now let's talk about the flowers here. We have black and white, just like the same as the book. So here we're seeing that sense of not, this is the mental and the physical manipulation, right? Like you not knowing exactly what's going on. And this is kind of like bothering you, like you don't have all the answers, the white and black here. And the black and white here is showing the puppet, that false sense of innocence, the manipulation, all of that together. And the treat here, the blessing, the sweet surprise, or perhaps something positive that will come along this way is the letter coming with black. So here I'm seeing a revelation, right? So the letter is telling you exactly what's being hidden here. We're exposing these black flowers from the book. So even though you might be feeling like things are not in your control, feeling like you don't have these answers, some sort of transition that you're going through, whether it's relationships, work, anything along that line, like something must have happened where you just don't have all the answers. You're feeling manipulated. You don't feel in control. Things are just not going along the way. Your strength here is the fact that you're able to remove all of those negative thoughts, remove that bad energy, that clutter, everything that's just kind of stagnant, right? And eventually this month you will get some sort of answers to everything. This letter shows me that we're revealing whatever has been hidden in the book, and we're revealing that black, that things that were hidden, or the shadow aspect. So that is for pile 2. Hopefully that resonated with you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to move on to pile 3 in just a little bit. Alright, so this is pile 3 if you chose the mix of both the Cosmic Seed Tarot as well as the Cosmic Crossroads. We'll be covering the mask, which is what we're projecting out that might not necessarily be true. Also, we are going to discuss any fears or obstacles, which will be your shadow, flashlight, which will show us like your guiding light or what's helping or supporting you. The trick are things that might be tripping you up this month, and then treat, which is kind of like a sweet blessing that you might have, positive news or anything like that. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so let's start with the mask. So here we have the word betrayal, and I don't know if you can see this clearly. You have a person with a white sheet over them, and you have a knife crossing through and bleeding. And behind them you have a rose and an owl. So because this is reversed, to me this shows me like projecting recovery from somebody who might have backstabbed you, because we have, this is a mask, right? You're projecting that. But because this is in reverse, this also shows me the fact that you have an owl here, that the wisdom hasn't necessarily been integrated. So here you have maybe a past feeling of lack of good faith here, somebody who might have not necessarily done you right, and you just feeling that this has been haunting you, right? Because you have this sense of like that white sheet. So this is something that's been secular. It's been haunting you for quite some time. It's been on your mind for quite some time. And but you're projecting like this is not something on your mind whatsoever. This is something you've gotten over. However, this is how you project yourself and how you see yourself as. Now here we have the shadow, which is more about like the fear, right? And here we have clouds, can show like mental fog and confusion. The ballet shoes shows me dedication. So this is something that you've put your heart and soul into. This is something time honored, right? It's been going on for quite some time. Notice how the bird here, it's kind of like his head is cocked up, so it shows me that it's about to sing. So maybe it's been trying to tell this young girl like to get up, to move forward, that there's nothing in her path. However, she's kind of still in that mindset, still in that fog, that confusion, that, you know, things are restricted, right? Like all that effort, that discipline that you might have put into this, it's just not moving forward. It's kind of like a cage of that she has imposed on herself. And just ruminating in those negative thoughts. And I could almost see like that cloud just becoming even bigger as her brain has been just like ruminating over and over and over again. So this shadow is kind of like that mental trap of just replaying that pain of what's going on, feeling stuck and powerless, even though there might be support here, or just telling her, like, maybe it's your spirit guide telling you it's okay, you can get up, you can move forward. This is all, you know, a mental issue. So now let's move on to the torch, that guiding light. What can help us here? And here we have the Ten of Swords. Now, typically in the RWS, we have like a man here and all the swords through, penetrating throughout the body. Now, notice here how all these swords are pointing towards the Scorpion. The Scorpion could be the traitor here. So here we have that sense of betrayal, right? So notice how we have the all-seeing eye, the swords all going towards the Scorpion. So to me, this shows that don't worry, karma is here, right? Justice will be served here. So it's not about you having to think about and ruminating and whether things are justified, whether things are, you know, maybe things didn't necessarily go in your direction, right, in a positive light. So this is showing to you that, you know, eventually the person who, you know, or situation, whatever the case may be, that didn't go your way, like the karmic scales are favoring you eventually. So it's kind of like justice is unfolding, not necessarily very quickly or swiftly, but eventually it will. So you're not necessarily having to carry that wound here that's here at the bottom. So let's move on to the trick. So here we have the Six of Coins. This is the Lakshmi figure, if I'm not mistaken, which talks about like generosity. It's interesting to note here that we have also the coins being of different sizes, kind of like flowing unevenly. So this shows like a sense of imbalance or illusion. Then we have the outstretched hands, being in, like more in a passive role. Like this is the person waiting for fairness, waiting for apology, waiting for that sense. So the trick here, right? You're feeling the sense of waiting for fairness to happen, and in your brain, you're just kind of ruminating over that. And here we have like that sense of like outside help from Lakshmi, not necessarily from Lakshmi, but just from the universe. So the trick is relying on others kind of to restore that balance, waiting for repayment or fairness. And you're making that come from the person or the situation that you had that you feel betrayed from. And then last but not least, we have the 10 of Coins, which we have the imagery of the elephants here and all of the coins showing that sense of community. The tree is lasting abundance and stability created by your own foundation rather than someone else's generosity. So here you're seeing, like in general, you are wearing a mask of recovery, right? The knife in your back still haunts you like a ghost, right? You're having that sheet over your head, despite the fact that this happened a while ago. This is something that you're still ruminating. It's something that you didn't necessarily process and obtained wisdom from. This is something that's still on your mind. You haven't progressed forward. You're kind of building that mental cage. But here you're seeing that sense of justice will come through. It's not going to be something that's going to take... it's not going to be swift is what I'm trying to say. Here we're seeing that sense that you feel like that other person needs to extend that apology, that generosity, from what happened in the past. But this is something that it's more of an illusion. This is not something that's going to help you or benefit you, expecting that person to help you. This is more of the universe is going to, in the background, right, is going to have this occur. Last but not least is the treat of this month is that feeling of sense of fulfillment and community, and building from that sense with the 10 of Coins. So despite all of this, eventually, I think by the end of the month, you're going to start feeling more fulfilled as opposed to having those ruminations in the beginning of the month. So hopefully this resonated with you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, guys. All right, so that was the trick or treat spread for October. I hope it gave you some clarity and a few useful takeaways as you move into or through this month, and share in the comments below which pile you picked and whether you noticed more tricks or treats showing up in your life this month. If this reading resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get more alerts and you don't miss the next video. Wishing you a wonderful October and have a nice day, guys.